What's happening, guys? I'm Dan. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into more craft beer, and it looks like it would be an assumption to make, guys, that this is going to be a Detroit craft beer or a Michigan craft beer at the least, but it is not, however. So Detroit Fan Zone India Pale Ale, and it's from Little Valley, New York, Ellicottville, New York. Don't know anything about where this came from. Don't know the backstory about this. But the strange thing is, everybody's kind of trying to market these NFL teams, these college teams, and it looks like it's the same kind of concept here. I've seen this with even bourbons. I saw that there was like a Grit City bourbon literally made for the Detroit Lions, but it was not made by anybody in Michigan or Detroit. Such a strange concept, but I understand. I guess they're using marketing to their absolute fullest extent and fullest power. Detroit Fan Zone, I felt obligated to review this one because why? I absolutely love the freaking Detroit Lions. They're amazing. We're going on a Super Bowl run. Let's freaking review this thing. So 5% ABV again from New York. Don't even know who the actual brewery is that owns this or owns the rights to this. No clue. And it's an older beer at this point in time. I did see these pop up quite a few months ago. So 9/18/24. So today's the 20th of November. Going on literally, we're about 2 months old. So for me, it's a little bit older than I typically like in my IPAs, but it's 5%. This is $12.99 a 4-pack, I believe. Let's get into this one, and that had a huge pop. And I got the Detroit glassware. Why? Seems fitting for this beer, representing them Lions. So let's get into this one, guys. I am getting over a little bit of a cold, so bear with me. I feel like my senses are just fine, but I sound a little nasally still. I haven't actually reviewed in at least over a week, so I'm back at this game. Let's get into this day off. Wow. So very big head retention, poured a little bit aggressively. Pretty dense though, super dense creamy head sitting on the top for 5%. And there's actually pretty intense carbonation streaming to the top. We got this like yellow kind of peachy color, a little bit of, it looks orangey amber in the light. This ring light always just throws off my perception of things, and I really can't see sometimes what that's portraying to you guys. Looks way different to me from this perspective, but over there it looks like an orange caramely amber, really, but it's orange amber, orange caramel, we'll say. Darker end of the spectrum, very burnt OJ, if you will. Let's get an aroma. I can already smell some sort of citrus. Very like yeasty, estery. It reminds me of a beer from like Big Lake. If you guys know Big Lake beers, they do like the college towns. They do those. They market Sparty Party, the Michigan beer. I forget what it's called, but anyways, they market those. It smells just like those, and that's the range of ABV as well, 5.5%. This one's only 5. Kind of strange they're calling it an IPA, but lots of like citrus rind, maybe some peach and apricot rings. Like it smells like it's juicy, but it's giving me also the same perceptions that it's going to be a drier, lighter beer, perhaps. But there is this nice like underlying juicy note. Maybe it's like a peach, apricot, citrus rind kind of thing. But again, peach rings, apricot rings, a little bit more sugar added into the complex here. A little estery citrus. It smells light. It smells refreshing. It smells very voluptuous in a way too. So let's get into this one, guys. Shout out to Detroit, man. Detroit Fan Zone. I'm as Detroit as they get, guys. I was born there. Cheers. Yeah. I mean, truthfully, this is kind of exactly how I expected it. So it's drier, it's light, it's actually like a crusher. It's got a little bit of hoppy quality to it, a little bit of pine resin on the back end, but not too overwhelming. It's got a little bit of bitterness. Very well balanced. It's way more towards the dry end of the spectrum. But in the beginning of this beer, there is orange rind, there is a little bit of like clementine juiciness, and again, there is a little bit of like apricot peach gummy rings in this equation. Again, I don't want to say that it's juicy, but it wants to be, but the back end and the hoppiness kind of combining with your palate offsets all that sweetness that there ever was a perception of, and it's gone. So this is actually a dry crusher at 5%. It's slightly hoppy though, which I like because they're calling it an IPA, but is this an authentic IPA? Well, seems a little light on the spectrum, but it does have a nice drinkability and hoppiness to it. A little bit of like a doughier malt bill, a little bit of heavier malt. It does actually feel through the middle like it's a bigger beer than 5%, but it's not astringent. Again, it's hoppy. It's kind of slightly grassy and resinous on the back end, but it's not like it's a Shorts beer. It's not going to be like blowing your palate out, crazy hoppy. I feel like Shorts Brewing Company is very good at making low ABV beers really hoppy, and that isn't necessarily the case here today, but it does have a nice hop level, a little bit of a bitterness bite on the back end. Again, I'm sticking with some generic lemon, lemon peel, lemon rind, clementine pith, clementine slight juicy quality. Again, any juiciness that was affiliated in the front and middle kind of get absorbed by that heavier malt bill and bigger bitterness on the back end. It's just a middle of the road IPA. There's nothing too absurd about it. It's nice and drinkable at the end of the day. It doesn't blow my socks off. It's just not that entertaining at the end of the day. Just very nice drinker at 5%. So is this good? Yeah, it could be better. It could be more complex. I don't think it was meant to be. It says IPA. I would think it's an IPA drinking it, or at least a hefty pale ale. Or a sessionable pale ale. That's where this really should be. It's almost like a different version of like all day IPA, giving me kind of that hop quality with a little bit more grit, if you will. So it does remind me of a sessionable IPA at the end of the day. But again, still dry and drinkable when things are all said and done. So where do I put this? It's a good beer. It's not gonna blow you away. I am upset that it's not made by somebody in Michigan. This seems wrong. Like, don't be marketing My Lions for your betterment. Don't be doing that ever. I think that's an insult, but I feel you. I understand. It's the game. We all got to play the game, guys. It's just good. I don't know. 3.74 out of 5. Like, that's right. I think I'm being maybe even overly respectful there. 3.74 out of 5, guys. It's been the Detroit Fan Zone IPA. Don't even know where it's from or who makes it, rather. Little Valley, New York, Ellicottville. Maybe you know better than I do. Guys, it is what it is. So until next time, cheers, pros, yamas. I'll see you on the next review.